The nail biting and the hair pulling is over, the matric results are out, and for most, focus has now shifted to conundrums of a different kind. This is, we ask the all-important question, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Might be getting a job, go travel the world, or is it going to university for the majority? The opportunities are endless, but might not be that clear for some at the moment. Now, to further the discussion of life after school, we are joined by Professor Sarah Gravett, the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Education at the University of Johannesburg. Very good morning to you. And Professor Kinta Berger, the Registrar at the University of Johannesburg, to discuss application and registration processes, study advice going forward. Very good morning, ladies. Thank you very much for joining us. If I can start with the Dean, what is your reaction, firstly, to the 75.8% pass rate? And are we obsessed in South Africa with a number pass rate, and does it play out negatively?
We are indeed obsessed with a number, and we are obsessed with matric. Matric is the culmination of 12 years of schooling. So we should be looking at the system as a whole and not only focus on matric results. However, matric is important. It's a gateway for young people to a future, and therefore one understands also why matric results play such an important role in young people's lives. But to diagnose the education system solely based on matric results is not a good way to do it.
How do you view this, and also how do you view the quality of learner that comes from school into the University of Johannesburg?
Well, what we also do, of course, is not only rely on the quality that should have been established at the secondary schools, but we also make provision for this very difficult transition period. So what we have at the University of Johannesburg is a number of interventions, programs that offer additional academic support, and we continue with that actually right through the student's life cycle. So yes, we rely on the quality, and all the institutions also want to have the very best students, but we also are accessible as a university, and we also have, for example, extended programs. So we believe if there's potential and we adopt that student, we will give that student a home for the next 3 or 4 years and make sure that we can do anything from our side to enhance that quality, and so that that student can actually realize his or her maximal academic potential.
I wanted to talk about the CAPS curriculum because we've seen a little small percentage drop in the number, and we, as you said, we are obsessed with this number. How do you view the CAPS curriculum that's being implemented, and then how do you see that play out in the formative years of a university student?
In many subjects, not much has changed in terms of content specifically. What the CAPS does is it specifies more clearly to teachers what exactly should be taught. The assessment processes that need to be used is specified more clearly. And also the time frame is specified more clearly. But in some subjects, there was a significant change. Maths, for instance, is the one subject where we used to have the 3 papers. 1 paper was not compulsory. And now the 3rd paper, the content is incorporated now into 2 papers. So that was new for learners. They didn't know exactly what to expect. And the results also show that the majority of learners have really struggled with the new content that was included. The question is, of course, was our teachers always adequately prepared to assist these students? And then in a few other subjects also, there were some changes. The important thing of CAPS is it wants to lift the bar in terms of depth and in terms of content in some cases. So it's a quest for quality. And therefore, let's not be absolutely preoccupied with the 75%.
Yes.
Let's also see how we are enhancing quality of education in the country and make that our quest. By that, I'm not saying that it's not crucial that all the support should be given to learners because we want learners to pass, and it's devastating for a learner to fail. But the focus should be on quality, and the focus should be on maximum support to learners.
And that's the kind of route that the basic education department is taking, and you guys are very happy with that.
Yes, yeah, no, indeed. We are very supportive of that. And as my colleague also said that, you know, it's a long-term project. It doesn't happen overnight. To firstly ensure that we have the necessary teaching capacity to handle this new curriculum, but we do expect that that will prepare prospective students better for that first year mathematics and related subjects.
Now, as the registrar, we've just seen on screen, just popped up the university's page. It says no walk-ins will be allowed.
Yes,
and the registration process is very much advanced. Just take us through this process, and it should really be something that should have been done almost a year in advance, isn't it?
Oh yes, no, definitely. The application process itself actually starts in April, the previous year. And again, it's very important to apply as soon as possible. So that's going to be my message also today. So it's an application process that's done mainly online. We have still a paper-based application process available, but last year's applications, almost 86% applied online. And then, of course, we also provide support via a call center. So those applicants that do not have access to computers can then access this online process actually via our call center at the university. So during that period then, as soon as the applicants apply, we assess that, and that is also done mainly electronically, but in some cases there's also the inputs from faculties necessary, especially for postgraduate applicants, and then students are informed, the applicants know. And now, yesterday, when we received the matric results, we started with what we refer to as a matching process, where we then compare the actual outcomes of the matric results with that program that the student applied for. And if there's a match, then that applicant is informed via SMS. That process will be concluded now by Thursday. And only then we will be able to see whether there's any more spaces available for certain programs. And that information will be then on our late inquiry system, on the university's webpage. Again, if someone struggles to access that, they can also use our call center. And it's a very student-friendly process. All someone has to do is to type in their ID number, and then the result will be that they can see then which program is open, for which they meet then the entry requirements. So it's an automatic process that's done online, and then if there's any spaces available, you know, they can still apply. Also, if they want to perhaps change now their choice, because in our case,
young people don't know what they want in the end.
Most don't know what they want, or perhaps they had the first choice last year, but didn't meet the entrance requirements based on their grade 11 results, and now meet the requirements. So we also allow where we still have spaces then available for a change in choices.
Well, you always firstly do what your parents want you to do, and then you change after your first year. But Professor Gravett, I want to ask you about the emotional scenario for a young person after matric, coming into university with the amount of work that they have to deal with. What's your advice to young people in your space? How do you emotionally deal with the pressure and the amount of work as a young student?
It's a difficult transition for many young people. It's the first time that you don't have somebody looking over your shoulder all the time. You were used to small classes, with teachers, your parents. Now suddenly there's all this freedom. And many students struggle to deal with that. Firstly, I would suggest that they really use all the systems that are available at the universities to support them, and access all these systems. Again, at UJ, for instance, we have a very extensive tutoring system that give additional support to these students. But secondly, to work consistently. That's the way one is successful. Not to wait until the last minute to prepare for that test or to try to do the assignment, but work consistently. And thirdly, when you struggle, to go to the tutor or go to your lecturer. They are there to support you, but if you don't access the support, we can't give you the support. So you also have a responsibility as a young person to take full responsibility for your studies.
In the new world of education, the role of parents cannot be underestimated. It's successful students obviously have parents that are actively involved in their lives. What is your advice to parents who are now having to deal with young minds that are going to be at university for the first time? How does a parent deal with that, and what are the pitfalls that parents should be on the lookout for?
No, I think you're absolutely right. It is a partnership, and we rely very much on the support of the parents to provide that emotional support, but also to make sure that students don't fall behind, you know. So for us, it's very important that parents are informed about the achievement of the student right through the semester, right from the first week onwards.
Yeah.
But we are not allowed to share that information with parents.
Yeah.
Students need to do that. And so during our orientation period for first years, we emphasize that again. We also emphasize that we have our support services. And then sometimes, you know, students that will come to me with problems, I would ask them, can I also bring your parents in?
Yeah.
And then we have a discussion and we take it forward as a partnership.
It's a partnership, and communication then is the key for parents, students, and then, of course, the tertiary institution that they're at. But Professor Gravett, I want to end and ask you the final question. Not everybody can go to university. What advice do you give to those students who suddenly realize that they might be a little bit in limbo now?
There is a sense in the country with many people that university is the only way. Definitely not. We need young people in this country that are skilled in many different areas. So FET colleges is a possibility. Apprenticeships, a possibility. And also often you would find that there would be businesses, organizations that would be willing to take you in at a very low level. And then young people say, but you know, I don't really want to work for such a small salary, or should I really start at the bottom? That's the way to start, because if you have experience, and the only way that you gain experience is through working, and that would eventually open the doors for you. If you enter the working environment in any job, and you do a very good job, people will say, aha, we want to appoint this person permanently.
That would be my advice as well. I worked for free for the first 6 months of my career, and in the end, if you want to get anywhere, you have to make those kind of, you have to make that kind of contribution and show your true character, because people do business with people they like in the end, isn't that right?
Indeed. But the universities can also offer a service there. So, you know, if they don't know, call us, and we can perhaps assist with more information.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. That's Executive Dean of the Faculty of Education at the University of Johannesburg, Professor Sarah Gravett, and then also the Registrar at UJ, Professor Kinta Burger. Thank you very much for joining us today, ladies. So, if you're not at the university, it's not all over. An apprenticeship is really one of the options that's out there, and you should look at it if you are at home and don't know what you're going to do with the next year of your life. But time for us to move on.